positive breath. So again, the reopening trade seems to be going on pretty well there. Keep in mind, China's economy is roughly 20% of the world's total, but its market cap on all the exchanges is only about 11%. So some pundits are saying that these gains from Chinese stocks can continue at least for a while. Okay, in Europe, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire expects the country's GDP to contract 11% in 2020. It wasn't any major news out of the European other than that. Regarding the virus, we had 60,000 new cases yesterday. Uh, However, that's probably due to the lack of, the lag in reporting as they collect all the data over the July 4th weekend. Test counts are showing more than 150,000 tests per day have been conducted over the last few days. Unfortunately, the positive test rate made a new high. Positive test rates are rising in almost every state. And now there are rumors that the testing is going to start being a little bit limited, perhaps due to a lack of reagents. Texas just recorded a new record high positive test rate of 16.6%. That's pretty high. That's,
Mm.
well, 20% of people tested have it. 400 people per day are still being added to Texas hospitals. And across the country, the net is 1,000 per day going into hospitals. That's net. That means, new admissions versus discharges.
Mm.
Also
That can't
now,
be a trend that can continue. I mean, that can't be a
no,
sustainable trend, at least.
yeah, no, not at
That's a
all.
problem.
Yeah, and
Mm.
also there was a study that was just released out of University College in London, where they are seeing a lot of coronavirus related brain damage. Um, so there's longer term, even if you
Can you reach an agreement
basically
before what
survive,
many strategists are calling
you
an
can have
income
neurological
cliff
deficits
happens at the
going
end of the month?
forward that may
Well, let me
not go
comment on both.
away. Domestically, good news, bad news in the latest report on jobless claims. Good news is that claims decreased by 99,000 for the week, 1.314, and that is actually better than what the consensus was looking for. Of course, the bad news is there's 1.314 million new claims. I
No
mean,
kidding.
yeah. The good news is that claims, continuing claims, dropped by 700,000 to 18.062 million. The bad news is there's still 18.062 million people on continuing claims. Um, it's less bad than expected, but I think you'd have to say, Kevin, is still a long way from good.
Yeah.
However, the market doesn't really care as the mega cap tech stocks just continue to grind higher.
Well, Lee, we often say the market doesn't care until suddenly it cares. And
Right.
when it does, that's when we're going to get the reaction I'm afraid of. The one thing that I noted this morning, Lee, as it pertained to jobs, was a report that, rather a report, but a tweet that Liz Ann Saunders put out about how historically in the past, when we've had recessions that are less than 10 months, the number of initial claims never broke 20 million. And here we are 5 months in, and we have 50 million. And
Yeah.
so, that's a pretty big disparate number there, Lee, and the market is ignoring it at this point. But, I have to wonder where that tipping point comes into play.
Well, that's why we look at the charts. The charts will tell us when we start breaking support, I think.
Exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to stocks in the news.
You got it. Bring up Edge. Here we go. Where to begin today?
All right. Dow stock, Walgreens Boots Alliance.
All right.
Not good. That's why the Dow is down, I think, versus the other indices.
Okay.
Um, Fiscal third quarter results were hurt by fewer people going to the doctor and getting prescriptions and by higher costs that they have during the pandemic. revenue was a little bit better than expected, but earnings were quite a bit worse. Really no support. We just broke that previous low. It looks like could go down and test the low there.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like on a longer term chart here. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different. Nope.
No.
Yeah, so that's that's what you're looking at is that fast low there around 36.75 if it wants to hold up.
Yeah, but not the strongest chart, that's for
I
sure.
agree.
DocuSign, stay-at-home stock, DOCU.
Certainly been doing just fine.
Just watch the 10-day. Now, if you drew we're seeing some of these stocks break out of their channels. So if you put like a trend line over the highs there, you'll see that this one's breaking out of its channel. That can go on a little while, but often that precedes a pullback. So just tighten your stops. Maybe you start using the 5-day here, even as opposed to the 10-day.
Yeah, that comes into play.
Yeah.
On a lot of these trending ones, that becomes a spot where things kind of get a little bit weak as the 5-day, doesn't it? So that's just shy of 199.60, and yet that's 13 points away.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, but the news on them is Wedbush hiked its price target to $240 a share from 165. So some upside according to Weber. They said, whoops, I'll tell you exactly what they said. They said, quote, we continue to believe DocuSign is a deal flow. Their deal flow, rather, is holding up stronger than we expected in this environment, which bodes well for strong underlying metrics and headline numbers during fiscal second quarter. All right, another popular stock, Alibaba.
that one's been hot. Had a huge day yesterday.
Yeah. We'll see if we get that dark cloud cover today or not, but huge move up. I mean, as we talked about, the Chinese stocks have been going parabolic, some of them. So Needham initiated coverage with a buy rating and a target of 275.
Yeah, this one 10 days just now getting out to the breakout spot. And with a trend that's aggressive like that, real quickly, look at how the 5-day just goes with it. That
Yeah.
becomes that spot. Oops, that's the EMA. There's the SMA.
Yeah.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So Needham said they have a well-established ecosystem and, quote, strategic position in the e-commerce value chain. Regeneron, REGN.
All right.
This one just not quite the ascent, but you have to say higher highs and higher lows.
Mm-hmm.
They were upgraded to buy at SunTrust. They raised their target on the stock. Get this, 750. Their previous target was 400, which we've been at 400 for months.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah, they're a little late to the party here.
Yeah.
Looks like the 50 is the most important SMA here, Lee. I mean, the 20 has been tested previously, but the 50 seems to be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Okay. Carnival, reopening play, CCL. Opened hot, but it sold off a little bit. It was good news. Their German subsidiary, AIDA Cruises, said it will restart vacation trips in August.
Well, that's a positive for Portion.
Yeah, positive, but I guess before on a charting basis, before you would get excited, you'd have to start holding above the 50-day moving average. It was probably a little too soon on that one.
I think I'd agree with that.
Okay. Square has been on a tear, SQ.
Yes, it has.
So anyway, Cowen downgraded it to market perform just based on price. It's up
Oh, it's been too
200%
hot.
since March. Yeah, too much, too fast, they said.
Tough to argue.
Yeah.
Had a great run.
Yeah. Cisco, the networking CSCO, not the food
Okay.
company.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
setup.
Yeah. Is it big breaking out of that triangle here?
Kind of looks like it. Let me draw that in for us. I was seeing the same thing. It'd be tough to see it with you got all the moving averages in there, of course, but let me draw this in and see what we get. Come on. Do the little hokey pokey dance here with my lines. But yeah, I think today's move is the breakout.
Could be, yeah. Anyway, Morgan Stanley upgraded them to overweight. They put a 12-month price target at $54.
I think the level to watch here is the high from the 30th, 47.01. It got to 46.90 thus far today. So keep an eye on 47 here, everybody. I think that's the ledge you want to see taken out. Confirm the breakout.
Yeah, but constructive action here though.
Indeed.
Six Flags, SIX. Yeah, just hanging in there. Not doing too much. Feel better if it was above the 50, but if you want to give it a shot.
Yeah. Stop below these lows here.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, an analyst at Janney upgraded them to a buy from neutral, noting valuation.
All right.
Okay. Here's one. BioXcel. This is not widely followed. BTAI. So they've been doing well. Pulled back to the 50, kind of in a range right now. Anyway, the news here is they are working with Mass General, which is, if you're not familiar, Harvard's main teaching hospital in Boston. I had a kidney stone and was in their emergency room way back when. But yeah, so they reached a deal with BioXcel for an investigational drug to calm coronavirus patients. You know, sometimes you're on a ventilator or something, or you, so they didn't say how much the deal was worth, but it was not negative news for sure anyway.
Kind of an interesting chart, like, because you're right about the uptrend. It's held the breakout point here for about 2 months almost, but the RSI isn't really giving you much in the way of confirmation.
Yeah, I mean, that's more neutral, but on the other hand, stop under the 50 if you want. The trend is still higher. It's just losing a little bit of oomph, that's all.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, JP Morgan. Jeff Kilberg was on saying that he owns the stock. He was my guest on Charting the Markets on Tuesday, founder of KKM Financial, a frequent CNBC contributor. This is one of his core holdings. Not that it's doing that, it's just like the rest of the financials. It's just treading water. But anyway, they were upgraded to a buy at DA Davidson. Said that they would be the main beneficiary of the liquidity that the Fed is injecting into the system. Okay, let's see. Yeah, and so we were just told that Jeff Kilberg will be on later today, actually, with our boss, Joe Mazzola.
It'll be on closing remarks.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Bed Bath and Beyond, BBBY.
Mm.
Not good. Not
Ooh.
good. They had they got just crushed on their earnings. People were looking for a loss of $1.31. They lost $1.96.
Ouch.
Weaker sales, and they're closing 200 stores.
Mm.
Not good.
No, 200 stores. That's a big number.
Yeah. Let's see. Autodesk. This is a
Okay.
popular stock, ADSK. Nice break higher out of that ascending triangle. They were upgraded to outperform at Oppenheimer.
Yeah, nice little breakout there. Like to get some RSI to steep up into that overbought level, but good looking chart here as well.
Yeah, in the semiconductor space, actually, we had a downgrade. KLAC, KLAC. So they were downgraded at Cowen to market perform from outperform.
It seems to be flagging up there a little bit.
Yep.
That
There
20
was
there.
yep, Mr. Softy, Microsoft. All right, Wedbush raised their target to 260 from 220. The firm noted that they are seeing quite a bit of better activity than expected in Azure, which is their cloud system. So that's all I got.
All right. That was a busy morning.
Yep.
Let's see what's happening here, Lee. You know, when you can see that we, as you called out, we got a little bit of a mixed bag. Some of the Dow components weighing a little bit here. Let's check what's going on with the S&P, where we've basically just gone pretty much sideways here for the last week or so, haven't we?
Yeah, I guess you could say we're holding the breakout from the triangle.
Yeah, I think you can say that. It's a little less exciting when you're just simply hanging in there. Kind of feels like we're, with hanging on by my fingernails to a certain extent. Let's check some intra-period levels here. I mean, the daily levels are pretty well set. We just happen to be kind of in the middle of it all. I think many of us are looking for a break here. You'll notice that the high we had on on Monday, came into the low right here. This was our breakdown. So we had this gap low. It was the low that day was 31.81, and our high here was 31.82. So we got to it. Now we've had a few lower highs in the midst of this little sideways consolidation. So we've kind of tightened up our range quite a bit in this week. And so it gives the impression, Lee, at least the way that I've been feeling, that we're kind of slowing and a bit kind of growing a little tired in this most recent rally. And yet we haven't seen a true breakdown as of yet. So, the areas to kind of keep an eye on, you can see that we are below the pivot, or have been just came below the pivot. We're challenging it as we speak. Kind of an important range to hold today, Lee. If we don't maintain, we're looking at 31.47 down below, so we'd be off about 20 points if we got down to that range, 22 points. But that's pretty much a level that we would subsequently want to be maintaining so we don't get thrown back into the lower portion of our kind of neutral range that we've been in here for the last 5-6 weeks, Lee. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, things are slowing down a little bit, except for the NASDAQ type stocks.
Yeah, it's a
Like the
pretty
Q.
specific rally here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Look
had
at
a question on Bed Bath. How many stores do they have? 1,545. They're not all branded as Bed Bath and Beyond, though. They've got Cost Plus and a few other ones. But
world markets too, right?
yeah, World Markets. Yep.
Okay.
So, yep, 1,545. Okay.
All right, so let's see what's going on with the NASDAQ here. A little bit of a disparate move between the composite and the NASDAQ 100 today, which yesterday were spot on the same. It was basically a move of the big boys yesterday. We saw, Amazon doing exceedingly well, and Apple doing well, and Microsoft all doing well, and they kind of rallied the entire NDX. But what are you going to say about either of these, Lee? The Nasdaq Composite, the Nasdaq 100, both just continue to trudge higher. The 20 has been a really consistent spot for buyers along this trend.
Yeah, let's look at the cues.
You got it. Yeah, and look at your RSI making a higher high.
Yeah. And again, it's in overbought. That's why we
Yeah.
weren't too worried about that divergence that we saw. It seems to be that analysis was correct. That we, again, if you have a divergence but you're overbought, it is not nearly as worrisome.
Yeah.
And now from the last high, we're not diverging anymore.
All right. That's pretty interesting. I just
where is
continues to confound me a bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, where is the 5-day on that? If you're a real short-term trader, that's what you want to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a spot where you lighten up if things start to break down, and it doesn't mean it breaks the entire trend, just starts to give you an idea as to when a pullback could begin, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then you start to eyeball that. Maybe the 20-day, and again, the 20, that's the nice thing is the 20, gives you a really good opportunity to join into the trend at least. That's been working, and one of these times it's not going to work eventually.
Right.
But
that's what they say. The trend is your friend until it bends, and then it finally ends. But until then,
trade it.
How poetic. Okay.
Yeah. All right, small caps, Russell. Underperforming today. In fact, leading the charge negatively today, off 1.25% here. You can see we're kind of mired in this neutral move here for about the last 5 or 6 weeks. We had that little head fake pop where we got through the 200-day, but boy, it just did not last. This is certainly something where that 3-day, look for 3 closes above the 200 would have kind of kept you out of trouble. If you were waiting for confirmation, you just never got it. So neutral here. You do have some higher lows, of course, and we're holding the 50-day, but this is certainly not the best looking of the indices.
No.
All right.
So I guess what is the bottom line? We are neutral on the Russell. We have to go with the trend on the Qs. The S&P is neutral to slightly bullish.
Yeah, and furtherly, if you're a trader who's been participating, I think you have to give weight to how you're feeling about your individual positions at this point in time. And if you're saying, hey, I don't know if this can continue, and you wouldn't be alone in that sense. Of course, the market will certainly let us know this can continue for far longer than we expect. So when it comes down to management, everybody, I think what I want to encourage everyone to do is check your support lines and check your moving averages that make sense for you, and consider laddering in some exit strategies for yourself. So you've got an ability to exit some portions of your position should things start to break down. Remember, the likelihood is that when we start to break down, it's not apt to be a slow and steady slog lower, but our sell-offs tend to be greater in speed and in momentum, and so you can easily get caught. It's very important to make sure you're mitigating your risk with your protective orders. So get out there and set your levels and make sure you're utilizing some stops and maybe some brackets if you're working an edge like us. All right, Lee, let's check the transports real quick. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead. All right. Here's the transports, Lee. They look just like the Russell almost, don't they? Similar pop up here. Gonna highlight this for you all real quickly. So same thing here. Popped above the 200, excuse me, didn't last very long. So if you're looking for 3 closes, you might have gotten it. But boy, that fourth day here, when you got the candle below the 200, that was kind of your indication it was not going to hold. So also a little bit more neutral in nature here in the short run, but still maintaining the 50. I think the transports, what's interesting is that this is such a split move in the transports. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. We know what the jets have been doing. So let's look at planes real quick. Continues to kind of just indicate, hey, we're okay, nothing to see here. It's merely a flesh wound. We're hanging into this 50-day moving average. Pretty important level here that I've got the green support line drawn in. So planes continue to weigh on the transports. You know, when we had the planes breaking out, that's what this move here is. Planes breaking higher took the transports over the 200 day. As you can see, when they retreated, it brought everything back. Now, if we looked at the truckers here, the truckers have been leading that group. So what you've got is a literal push and pull situation between the components of the transports right now. Trucks are leading us higher. We're certainly moving product across country. That much is obvious. But what's interesting further is that the rail, while the truckers are breaking out, the rails look a little bit more like the broader transports themselves. So it's an interesting group to eyeball, but you know, if you're looking at it, something like the IYT, the ETF that is a kind of a proxy for the transportation index, you know, you might be better suited to be a bit more cherry picking in the group, perhaps. You know, look for the industries within the transports that are favorable. So consider your truckers, maybe your rail, not so much the jets, at least not now. And the one thing we can say about the jets right now is that you do have a pretty good risk reward setup here if you're believing in the price action, or if you're believing that the ledge is pretty well set. You certainly have a great risk reward here. Stop below, you know, the lows of the last 2 weeks can keep you out of trouble to a certain extent. But man, that's about the best case that you can bring to the table as it pertains to the jets here at this point.
Yeah, it looks like well, you got the setup if you want to give it a shot, right?
Yeah, exactly that. But I do find it interesting, Lee, that you know when you looked at if you look at truck and rail, you've got 3 groups, right? All doing different things. Truckers trending higher, making new highs. Rail kind of in the middle of the pack, so to speak, and then the jets sitting at support, but at a pretty interesting level for them, right? A pretty important level.
Yeah, so yeah, that's key. So watch what happens here.
Yeah.
That'd be it is tempting, but
It is, but I'm still cautious because of those
yeah,
numbers, like, you know, year over year down 75% capacity on a lot of these flights,
I
right?
know. And
That
United came out and said they're gonna lay off 36,000 employees
oh,
in
that
October 1st once they can't do it until October 1st because they took money from the government and the CARES
PPP,
Act.
right?
But yeah,
That is all
yeah.
right. Let's see what the Sox is doing.
Uh,
More the same.
more the same. Again, now we do have the RSI could be better on this,
Sure.
but I mean, how's the 20? Did the pullbacks were the 20 on this one?
I think so.
Yeah, close. There's only one close below the 20
Mm-hmm.
about a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been bought up, but you know, kind of today's day is interesting. Let's see how that shapes out. I mean, it's early, of course. Doji up here like this today could kind of spell a little bit of a breather coming tomorrow or the coming days. You know, a little bit of an indecision day as you break out. We'd certainly rather see it break out with some momentum and some volume, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us give today equal time to people that think this is overdone. Let's look for stocks that are rolling over just for fun.
Hey, we
We haven't
haven't
done
done
that in
that
a
in a
while.
while.
Yeah.
I've got that one set up already, Lee, so that's perfect. Let's see.
Yeah, let's do rolling over.
All right, so we'll go my bearish screens. Here's a rolling over tab. And so let's talk about the criteria here. Here we're not looking in any individual group, but we are looking for stocks who are trading over 20 a share and whose percentage difference between their last trade and the 52-week high is less than 10. So this is within 10% of their 52-week high, but they're trading below their 10-day and 20-day simple moving averages. So short run, you can see they should be losing some steam here. Additionally, we have enough volume to enter and exit. We've been using 500,000 shares a day for the last 6 months. When we're looking to the short side here, we're going to use the poorly rated securities here. So the Ds and the Fs from the Schwab equity rating side. And then we've got these technical conditions, the 10-day below the 20-day, the 10-day below the 50-day. So again, you're getting kind of the indication that things are weakening and should be in fact looking as though they are rolling over. Now, Lee, we have 50 matches. How do you think we could, do you want to tighten that up at all? We could maybe remove the Ds, look exclusively at the Fs.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's see what we find.
See what that does.
That's a much
Good,
better list.
16, okay.
16, a lot tighter. So let's take a look at this, everybody. Let me save this.
Oh, some popular names on there too.
Yeah, what was the first one you saw that jumped out at you? Let's add that, and then I'll load the list.
Win.
That's what the one that jumped out at me too, amazingly. All right. So I'll get that loaded, and then I'm going to open the watch list here. And rolling over, there it is. All right, so that is exactly what we're talking about, isn't it, Lee? Look at how you got this pop back into this area that didn't even come close to the 20, really, and subsequently lower.
Yeah, so now for entry at this stage, you might want to wait till it breaks. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, a momentum trader would wait for a trade below this ledge here, right? 67.5 or so,
Yeah.
and then play the downside from there. Because the truth, yeah, it could hold up there. There could be enough buying support, right?
Yeah. But certainly this is not a strong chart. We got a question on Starbucks.
I agree.
Next one.
You got it. There you go.
There you go. I mean, again, you got a low there to set a target. If you put a stop over the 20-day, which is the orange line, you'd have a 1-to-1 for a real quick trade. Momentum traders, though, I think would want a break of that support level.
Yeah, I could easily pick up some steam from there, Lee, and you could see 68. And certainly could see it even a little bit lower than that. Yeah, I agree. That's an interesting setup here. I think for stop about 70.5. And I think 68 comes into play here as well.
Yeah, we got a request for lift.
Okay. Yeah. Good candle today.
Yeah, that is actually, of course, there is a little bit of support down. I think you'd have to say it just failed at the 50-day moving average.
Mm-hmm. And the little bit of support you're talking about comes in with
very little though. So
I agree.
You might put on a little short and add to it if it breaks the green line with the target of the low in May.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the May low looks to be a real good one. Nice long candle there, nice long tail. You could find it holding up a little higher here, maybe right in this range around 26. But boy, that would work out great. 26 would be 3+ points from here. That's 10%.
Yep. And you wouldn't be risking that much if you put a stop over the 50. So that would have positive risk to reward for sure.
Yeah, it would.
All right, let's look at Cheesecake Factory.
Okay. Well, if they ever continue to really struggle, they can always just sell off card stock from their menus, right? their menus are so substantial. But yeah, I'm
Uh,
not sure if I like this setup as well, Lee.
It's choppy.
Now maybe break this.
Yeah, break the trend line. That's a good call. If it breaks the trend line, you could get down to 17 or something.
Yeah, could easily be right here again. And then that's your momentum trade. So you're at, 4 points from here. Does it feel a little bit early? Yeah, I think a little bit early. But yeah, maybe wait and see on this. But I think the trade there would be the momentum one. I agree.
HE.
All right.
So as we've seen, the utilities are weakening. So I don't know on this. I mean, it's definitely a lousy chart with
Yeah.
the 20-day acting as, but the problem is just like you drew in there. You got too much support down there, I think.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's pretty good. Lots of buying has come in there. Historically, what have we seen with this range? Yeah, there's a lot of support in here. This is a pretty good congestion area. Now, if I took that out,
Yeah.
I could see something in the neighborhood of, right around here, 32 and change. That's certainly a possibility.
Yep.
So I agree. I think that what that means ultimately is when you see that much support, the most likely scenario is that it tests and holds support rather than breaks support. But a break of support would be the opportunity you might be looking for.
Yeah.
So
Let's
as
look
usual,
at.
that becomes, patient, wait for the move, and then trade the move when you see it happening. Again, one of the things about technicals is try not to anticipate what's coming. That's when you tend to get burned a little bit, at least in my experience.
We have a request for VNO.
All right. Is that vino? Oh, not wine. Sorry. A
Yeah.
little too early in the day for that, probably. Okay.
Yeah. It's a REIT.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll wait for the breakdown because you got support right there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, these are all ones certainly. I mean, they're poorly rated by us. You just want the momentum to pick up a little bit if it breaks support.
Has this one?
Quick trade.
I'm wondering if this has already really begun. I mean, this looks like the ledge that it needed to fall through was right here around 36.
Yeah.
Below it
So
already.
yeah,
I'm wondering.
there's only that one candle for support there. So
Yeah,
this
and I
would
don't even
be
think
able
there's a
to.
lot of support there at
Yeah.
34. Do you?
Yeah. No.
I mean, this might be if you can go with what's nice about this one, I think, if you think that this is really in the midst of breaking down and losing steam here, or maybe even picking up steam as it moves lower, you can go with a really tight stop, maybe using the 5 simple moving average in the neighborhood of 36.5. And that you're risking $1.50 here, and then your target downside is somewhere in the neighborhood of 32, which would net you about 3. So it's about a 1 to 2, even if you've got it going right now.
Yeah.
So there's certainly some opportunities there. Let's see, Lee, what else do we have on the quest list?
Let's look at Ingersoll Rand IR.
Yes. There you go.
Potential head and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
The neckline down there at about 26.
Right here where it bounced up. Yep. Another one where you might be.
Just put them on a watch list and set an alert. If that one breaks to 2680 or something, there you go.
Yeah, Lee, it's interesting. This rolling over screen has found a few individuals that are looking enticing. I think you hit the nail on the head, though. It might be apt to be a little bit patient or start small and see what happens. Add to the position when you take out the first ledge of support. That seems to be something that you might have an opportunity to work with. And you'll notice, boy, in the last 15 minutes, Lee, everything is
Yeah.
flipped. Check that out. We've gone negative here by a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, that creates an interesting remainder of the day now, Lee.
It does. Even the Nasdaq turned around.
Everything flipped. Yeah, and then now you're getting a bounce on the volatility index here. You can see a little bit of steam there. So yeah, today becomes a pretty interesting day to see this kind of a flip. The Nasdaq was up 65 or 70 early on. Let's do that real quick. Let's just check the cues here. Let's see how it looks, and then we'll wrap things up. By the way, up next we have basic options income strategies with our senior derivative trading strategist, Nina Milivox, and of course, Lee returns a little later for charting the markets, joined by our director of futures, Mike Zaremski. We haven't really broken down just yet. I mean, we're certainly off our peak here, Lee. The pivot becomes the number for the day, doesn't it? We just got to really eyeball that pivot point.
It does. So the news that caused the market to sell off here is the Supreme Court just ruled that the Manhattan DA can get Trump's tax records.
Oh, and that led to a sell-off. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's what happened. So.
All right. Well, as always, everybody, we thank you all for joining us. Stick around for our next segments. Do check the calendar down below. As we mentioned, we have that options income strategies coming up next. Appreciate all of your questions and comments, though. We look forward to having you back tomorrow for Trader Talk on Friday. But have a great rest of your trading day, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.
Take care.
You could think getting commission-free trades is as good as it gets, but you know better. At Schwab, free means more. You get commission-free online trades, plus quality trade executions on our powerful platform. All from the only firm that offers a satisfaction guarantee. Expect more from your firm. Trade up to Schwab.